58 more minutes. It's in fact 50, 58, 57 minit lagi. Johnson, show me your finger. The right finger, ya. Show me your finger. Asyik baik.
I knew you were going to ask me that. What about your finger? Okay. At first when I put it in, dia kata tak cukup. Lagi dalam, kena separuh.
Dalam sangat dia tengok, aku punya lagi dalam.
Yalah, betul lah.
You guna sanitizer boleh hilang lah, boleh pergi undi semula lah. Macam tu. So how's it, Johnson? How's it?
Today, I mean, we have some sad news. We actually had 3 voters selepas mengundi, 2 perempuan, seorang lelaki meninggal dunia. Wow, that is it's like their final act of patriotism.
Betul. Dan sebelum daripada itu, Johnson ingat ada 2 calon, Padang Serai dan Tioman. Unprecedented.
Yes. Tioman just a few hours.
Ya, jadi kedua-duanya untuk Padang Serai dan Tioman ni pilihan rayanya pada 7 Disember. Jadi itu satu anomali lah, tak pernah berlaku agaknya sepanjang seingat saya. Kena tanyalah orang yang pernah duduk 11 kali PRU ni, ada tak kejadian macam tu? Tengah kempen-kempen meninggal kan? You know who I'm talking about?
Apa? Azmi Syarom. Dia itu kawan saya. He appeared for the first time on news today. Dia jawab orang, kata, oh, isi some people are denying voting because they are wearing slippers or shorts. Then he said, no, the only people who are not allowed to vote are those who come with a t-shirt or whatever with political parties lambang. But then Hadi Awang went with his pass.
Betul. Itu yang viral pada hari ini. Presiden PAS Tan Sri Hadi Awang memakai vest PAS dan viral dan telah pun dikritik oleh pelbagai pihak. Selain daripada itu tadi, Johnson, Malaysia 360 kongsi itu dalam banjir, mengharung banjir, masih lagi pergi mengundi.
Yes. Baram in Sarawak, people have water up to their knees. In fact, higher than their knees, but they were still queuing up. In fact, it made the news on FMT.
Ya. Jadi itu menarik kerana semangat. Walaupun di peringkat awal kita jangkakan musim tengkujuh ni mungkin ramai akan turn off. Dan memang kita sebut bahawa berlakunya political fatigue, kelesuan politik yang mungkin menyebabkan ramai tidak mahu mengundi. Kita lihat menjelang tengah hari pukul 2, laporan SPR memberikan gambaran lebih 58% kalau tak salah saya pada peringkat pukul 2 itu sudah pun turun mengundi. Jumlah yang tidak jauh berbanding dengan PRU yang lepas. Bahkan ada laporan yang berbeza jam ke jam. Memang antara PRU 14 dan PRU 15 ni perbezaan dia tidak banyak. Dan penting itu sebab walaupun perbezaan peratus itu tidak banyak, tetapi pertambahan pengundi banyak. Akan berikan besar kepada akan pergi ke mana. Kita ada tetamu, Johnson. Masanya untuk kita bawa masuk barangkali. Kita ada saudara Akhramsyah Sanusi, Ketua Penyelidikan Pejuang.
Coming back again to join us. Yes.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. And I show my evidence first.
Ya, there you go. Hanya ada jari ni baru boleh bercakap lah. Kalau tidak, out you go. Kita tak pernah akan bercakap. Profesor James Chin akan menyertai kita juga sekejap lagi. Dia masih dalam perjalanan. Tapi okey, kita mula dengan Akram dulu. Would you like to go first, James Johnson?
So I mean, the obvious question for me is to ask you from Pejuang's perspective, what do you think the likely outcome will be? Because I know during this time there's a lot of bravado, and right now it's, as Syed mentioned, we have now only 53 minutes to go. But yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Ram Kapal was very, very, really going out on a limb and says PH may win up to 130 seats. What do you think?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Actually, I was already laughing when they said they had 90, but maybe I'll have to eat my words. Who knows? Berita paling baik saya dengar adalah ni lah. Setakat pukul 2, 58% atau 58% keluar undi. Itu pada saya berita yang paling baik sebab we want to avoid the repeat of PRN Johor lah, kan? Sebab PRN Johor seolah-olah menjadi petanda yang people either disenfranchise, put off, tak percaya dah dekat demokrasi dan sebagainya. Dan senario dekat Johor tu adalah sedikit sebanyak macam snapshot Malaysia lah. Sebab juga satu negeri yang perbilang kaum, tidak ada apa-apa dominance yang kekal di kalangan mereka. Ada urban center, ada rural area, ada felda, ada kawasan pelancongan dan tengok-tengok ramai tak keluar mengundi. Dan hasilnya adalah yang menang akhirnya adalah yang paling bersedia. That's normal in politics, the best organised wins. Tapi advantage pada jentera terlihat sangat dengan kedudukan keadaan kerajaan yang memegang pada masa tu memang mendominasi. Tapi sekarang kita lihat macam memang dikatakan bahawa banyak perasaan ingin mengundi itu berubah selepas anti-party hopping law diluluskan. Walaupun saya tak setuju dengan anti-party hopping law tu atas dasar prinsip, tapi dari segi mengembalikan keyakinan orang untuk mengundi itu saya tahu ada hikmah dia lah. So at least people are coming vote dan kita harap bahawa apa yang dipilih ni akan membawa kepada sesuatu yang setidak-tidaknya orang akan puas hati dengan proses. Tapi nak kata puas hati dengan outcome saya tak. Pejuang daripada awal lagi melihat bahawa, dan Biro saya sendiri daripada awal lagi melihat bahawa parlimen kemungkinan besar akan jadi hang parlimen. Tidak ada yang mendominasi. Pola perubahan, titik tolak pola perubahan ni adalah sebenarnya pada PRU14. Apabila selepas PRU14 parti-parti daripada Sabah dan Sarawak ambil keputusan untuk break off dengan cara tersendiri, Barisan Nasional di Sarawak break off dan menubuhkan satu gagasan baru, dan kemudian disusuli pula ahli-ahli wakil rakyat daripada Barisan Nasional di Sabah keluar beramai-ramai, kemudian menyertai Sabtu. Ada juga yang menyertai parti-parti lain di Sabah dan Sarawak, tapi amnya dua kumpulan besar ni yang membuatkan pergerakan yang menyebabkan akhirnya Sabah dan Sarawak tu menjadi penentu sama ada siapa yang boleh dan syarat yang dah laid on the table by pemimpin I selalu tertukar adalah GPS dengan GRS ni. GPS at least dia dah put the stake on the ground. Dia kata kita tunggu apa keputusan di antara parti-parti di Semenanjung dan yang mereka susuli. Tapi itu pun berkait juga dengan prinsip. Macam contoh di GPS, kalau dengan Pakatan Harapan, kalau kita lihat mereka berentak dengan Pakatan Harapan head to head di Sarawak, kalau pertempuran itu sesengit apa yang berlaku sebelum ini, mungkin rasa nak duduk semeja tu kurang. Tapi mereka dah nyatakan setidak-tidaknya mereka tunggu dulu apa yang berlaku di Semenanjung. Dan betul, kita melihat dengan begitu tertarik sekali ups and downs kita menyuun culaan on the ground sepanjang tempoh pilihan raya ni, dan memang banyak perubahan daripada pembubaran parlimen lagi. Kita tengok memang ada advantage pada UMNO Barisan. Kemudian tiba-tiba bila jelas yang calon-calon Barisan Nasional kebanyakannya adalah calon-calon dipilih oleh Datuk Seri Zahid dan mengenepikan dua orang Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri, kita nampak perubahan dari segi sentimen pemimpin dan pengikut UMNO sendiri. Jadi memang kita kata di penghujung ni pun susah nak membaca. Tapi kita masih ada keyakinan bahawa kalau kita dapat any party hitting 70% berbanding dengan yang lain, I think that would be quite within our expectation lah. Paling tinggi pun probably 70 or 70+% sikit.
Itu yang menariknya. Bagi saya, both of you, Johnson dan juga Akram has been in politics. Johnson dan Akram masih lagi berada di politik, bahkan berada menjadi antara tiang sri parti yang kita sebutkan Pejuang juga masih ada suaranya. Cuma dalam tempoh ini kita hanya tinggal 50 minit sekitar ini sebelum itu. Dan selalunya pada peringkat ini ada dah petunjuk-petunjuk. Ada yang digambarkan misalnya semalam sudah ada wakil daripada UMNO Barisan Nasional pergi ke Sarawak untuk merundingkan. Adakah begitu realitinya buat jam terakhir ini, apabila sudah ada sedikit indikasi tertentu perundingan sudah bermula, horse tradingnya sudah bermula pada waktu ini. Is that the case, Akrab?
Actually, kita punya maklumat adalah the horse trading bermula dah daripada sebelum pertambangan jalan tadi.
Okay.
Itu maklumat kita dapat daripada sumber-sumber yang dekat dengan parti-parti kemudian besar lain lah. Pejuang ambil kedudukan yang kita tak nak berunding kecuali kalau kita telus. Jadi kalau kita ingat sebelum penambahan calon memang berlaku perundingan untuk at least ada ada non-compete punya agreement lah di antara parti supaya kita tidak bertembung di antara parti-parti. Tapi akhirnya menuju ke penghujungnya benda tu breakdown. Okay. So di mana Pejuang is concern, kita telus dengan perundingan-perundingan kita lakukan. Tapi kita tahu ada juga backroom deal yang lain sedang berlaku tentang kalau kau lagi banyak undi kami akan ikut kau, kalau kau dia punya macam piramid lebih sikit aku lebih sikit kau kan. But I think apa-apa pembincangan sehinggalah penghujung, terutama minggu terakhir actually very intensif. Saya rasa kabar angin kata perundingan berlaku dalam minggu terakhir tu tak berapa tepat. Sebab biasa masuk dalam minggu terakhir tu dia macam final lap race you dah tak nampak dah orang lain dah. Kita dah fikir sudah kita dah menang dulu. Jadi I think the dust kena settle dulu, keputusan semua dah keluar. Dan kita harap keputusan yang keluar tu tak tergantung pada satu seat lah pada serai. Kalau tergantung pada satu seat pada serai, then kita akan genting lagi. Tapi Tioman
is done.
Tioman done ya. Jadi itu peringkat negeri lah. Saya rasa mungkin untuk Pahang ke Johor? Pahang. Untuk Pahang saya rasa mungkin mereka ada suspense sikit lah kalau itu yang penentunya. Tapi for the rest of the country pada serai lah. But I think tidak kot. I think akhirnya kalau betul apa yang kita lakarkan, yakni ada no real advantage of any one party, satu undi tidak akan menentukan siapa yang menang. Nanti a coalition will have to develop lah di antara semua parti-parti.
Apakah berkemungkinan parti yang mempunyai kerusi terbanyak mungkin tidak mendapat menjadi Perdana Menteri?
Possible, highly possible, isn't it? For me, the natural coalitions, we wait for James to come before we talk about Sabah, Sarawak. But I think PN and BN are closer and they have collaborated before. So I see the higher likelihood that they will, come together to form government. Unless this PH has so many seats that it just doesn't look good for any of the Sarawak or Sabah-based coalitions not to join PH.
But will that be enough pressure? Will that be enough pressure to get support from GPS and GRS? What do you think, Akram?
Well, actually, unfortunately, Malaysia ni dah jadi a bit of issues of personalities kan. So kalau kita tengok PN dengan PN nak bersama, ada benar juga apa yang cakap Johnson tu, yang mereka dah pernah bekerjasama dan lebih mudah. Tetapi isunya individu yang sedia untuk bekerjasama tu dah diketepikan oleh yang dominan sekarang. Jadi mungkin itu menjadi masalah sedikit. Dan dari segi prinsip, you kena ingat bahawa PAS diwujudkan dulu, dah 70 tahun lepas. PAS ditubuhkan dulu memang untuk melawan UMNO. Dan Bersatu pula diwujudkan, kalau saya ingat betul-betul apa yang diumumkan oleh Tuan Mahathir masa pelancaran Bersatu dulu adalah untuk menggantikan satu parti yang sudah usang.
Akram pengasas kan?
Ya?
Akram bukan pengasas Bersatu tu.
Ya, saya pengasas, kita tahu lah kenapa kita tubuh tu. So pengasas yang telah dibuang. So I mean the one and only pengasas yang tinggal itu Tuan Sri Mahidin, of course dia pun masihlah ingat kenapa kita asaskan Bersatu tu. Jadi PAS dengan Bersatu ni on principle rasanya sebab mereka wujud tu adalah nak pastikan UMNO tu mati. Jadi it will not be comfortable union lah. Tetapi yang ironis dia adalah kalau kita tengok kalau ada isu untuk bersama dengan PH pun, dia lebih clash of personality. Itu sebenarnya jadi masalah dia, sebab ada sejarah di antara Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim dengan ramai pemimpin-pemimpin lain, dan juga ada sejarah yang lebih lama pemimpin parti DAP khususnya lah, dan pemimpin yang lain ni ataupun mentor-mentor mereka. Jadi if this is the irony about the PH situation. Sekiranya pemimpin-pemimpin yang ada sejarah ni sudi berundur diri, lebih mudah untuk mereka bersama dengan parti-parti lain. Itulah dia. Tapi ialah isu dia dan berbalik kepada kesetiaan kepada pemimpin, sama ada pemimpin sedia untuk mengorbankan diri dia untuk masa depan parti dia. Itu kena tengoklah. I have very little faith in personal interest being surrendered by some characters. Itu tak boleh sebut direct lah.
Yeah, I think the egos are too high amongst politicians. But anyway, let me come back to my first question. Since you are from Pejuang, what's the reading? How many seats do you all think you can win?
Oh, Pejuang? Oh no, my point of view is the most unpopular in the party.
Which is kosong.
No. Then no point of us being around. tapi kalau saya ingat apa arahan yang diberikan ataupun apa yang dikhabarkan oleh Tuan Mahathir dulu adalah tak guna kalau kita masuk dalam pertandingan ni kalau bukan untuk menang. Tetapi secara realistiknya setidak-tidaknya GTA dan Pejuang sepatutnya boleh mencapai jumlah kerusi untuk mempengaruhi siapa membentuk kerajaan. So for you to be able to have influence on how many on who forms government, kita kenalah ada sizable chunk, but the sizable chunk tu tak semestinya sampai berpuluh-puluh, you know. Dan certain individuals yang menjadi penyambung, connectors kepada parti-parti yang lain adalah amat penting untuk mereka menang. So for instance, Tuan Mahathir obviously very important for him to be the winner here. Sebab dengan kehadiran Tuan Mahathir, usaha untuk kita mencantumkan satu coalition tu adalah satu yang lebih berkemungkinan. Dan walaupun kita daripada awal pun kita sebagai parti kita tidak meluahkan apa perasaan yang kita nak Tuan Mahathir ataupun mana-mana tokoh kita jadi Perdana Menteri untuk pilihan raya ni. Tetapi kita tak menolak peranan beliau sebagai you know consensus builder untuk membina parti baru, untuk membawa seorang pemimpin ke hadapan yang boleh diterima oleh semua parti sebagai Perdana Menteri. Dan yang menariknya, semua coalition ni sebenarnya ada tokoh yang boleh diangkat jadi Perdana Menteri. Masalahnya, dia bukannya the president. Masalahnya dia bukan presiden atau dia bukan Setiausaha Agung atau dia bukannya atas sebab-sebab tertentulah. Ada sebab-sebab yang historik, tapi ada sebab-sebab yang macam kita kata tadi, character, baggage, ego dan sebagainya. So in the end it goes back kepada usaha-usaha awal kita masa darurat pertama, darurat kedua yang kita nak cuba nak guide. Kita nak pastikan politik Malaysia ni sihat semula dengan kita remove all this ego daripada the whole thing. Kalau the end game adalah a unity government di mana pemimpinnya semua rakyat Malaysia boleh terima dan respect. I think that is really a big win. Sebab
itu kita harap.
Harap for one big party to dominate everyone. I think the outcome of this election, if that does not happen, it shows that betul lah rakyat tak percaya kat politician.
That's it. Kita sudah ada Johnson, Profesor James sudah pun ada bersama kita. Hi Professor.
Good evening.
Hi James. Evening.
So now we are left with only 40 more minutes before the end, the closure or semua pusat mengundi. Any changes from your previous reading, Prof?
Well, not really, but I think I want to make 2 points clear, and I think our other guests will agree with me. One is I don't think there will be any political instability tonight. There's a lot of social media message going saying that there will be political instability. I don't think so. I think we will have a government formed tonight, and I think a prime minister will be announced either tonight or early tomorrow morning. That's the first point. The second point is that I think it's very important that people don't get too excited about the numbers game. I think everybody today, since this morning at the Kopitiam, has been talking about the numbers game, about who's going to get 80, who's going to get 60. Some people said that, even Barisan, one well-known research house, said they only guaranteed 15 seats, all those sort of things. I just want to remind people that the numbers game is not important if nobody gets 112 and above. Because at the end of the day, it's somebody who can pull together a coalition and who can convince the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. So we have seen 2 governments form already where the numbers game were never reviewed in public and there was never any public vote of confidence in the parliament. So I think we have to be very clear. So people should not get too excited. This is Malaysia. I think we are more or less nearly there in terms of development. We have quite a mature political society. So I don't think anything will happen tonight. It will be a very, very smooth transition. The people who are making a lot of noise on social media are just trying to get people excited. But I think the players themselves know that political stability is very important and that nothing will happen tonight. It will be a very smooth process.
Yeah.
So James, are you prepared to give us at least, maybe not specific numbers, but your prediction for the outcome?
Okay. So my prediction, I think, is quite clear that all the political parties throw everything they have. I think the outcome will be decided in the rural areas. A lot will depend on the turnout. If the turnout is very high, then obviously Pakatan Harapan will be the coalition with the largest number. So at the latest reading, based on the people I've spoken to in the urban areas numbers have really, really gone up suddenly. So this morning, what was interesting about the urban areas, and I think Akram can confirm, is that there was not a lot of young people coming out to vote this morning. So some of my friends say, what do you expect? These people will sleep until 10, 11 o'clock. But whatever the reason is, the numbers are very low for so-called new voters, undi 18 or whatever. So there has been some pickup in some of the streams in the urban areas. But I haven't seen the reports for the rural areas yet. So maybe our Pejuang friend can tell us. But the turnout is very crucial. So I expect the turnout to be higher in absolute numbers compared to the last election, because a lot of people who were not registered suddenly said, because of automatic registration, I will give it a chance or try. So for many people, what was interesting, I never expected this, but they were telling me this is a new experience. Macam go to a new shopping center. So some people want to vote because they say it's a new experience. So we will see what the results are like. But I think because a lot of people are at the voting center, all the political parties have their agents at the political center, especially in the rural area, they will start counting already. So I think by 7:30, 8 o'clock, we will have a very clear trend. But I think it's very important that I remind people, don't get excited, because there are all sorts of crazy things being said on social media. I think what we should watch out on social media is the costume voters, people who wear interesting costumes. That is more important than all this crazy rumors.
We had Spider-Man and War Machine also, right?
Yes.
In fact, talking about new experiences, James, I had a new experience today. When I was queuing up, I got to sit down. That means I am in the senior citizens grouping.
First time ever Johnson. Sebelum ni tak pernah dapat duduk masa beratur. Moving on to Akram, I would like to ask Prof James, you mentioned tadi sebut kata urban ada peningkatan dari segi undi yang agak mendadak. Can you identify the reasons being?
Yeah, so the urban, we have seen an uptake in the afternoon, especially after 1 o'clock. For the undi 18, the younger voters, they seem to be coming out in larger numbers in the afternoon. So it is quite clear for me that at least in the urban areas, apologies to my friend, but I think the urban areas are, the word is that Pakatan Harapan is likely to sapu most of the urban seats.
Okay.
No, I tend to agree with regards to the the urban vote. Where they go is a bit harder to read, but the fact that the urban vote is coming out, that's true. Bellwether of this isn't just the fact that they are actually and actually James is right. They didn't come out early in the morning, but the queues were already bad. What's interesting is that I know of at least I know of a few places where at around 1 o'clock, because saluran-saluran macam saluran 789 were fully queued up. Half an hour, 45 minutes queue, and these are saluran-saluran muda lah kan. And it depends on the patches of where you are. I mean, I vote where I vote. Actually, I jatuh saluran 7.
Okay.
Which means of course that a lot of elderly in my area, because I was very proud to know that I'm saluran 7. My wife wasn't too happy to hear that because she was in saluran 4. So in her area. So that means that when I went in my area where I was voting, hardly anyone. Pukul 1, pukul 2 hardly anyone. Jadi memang tak ramai orang muda dan it was clear. Tapi where other people were voting that I'm aware of, nephews, nieces, cousins, yang muda-muda ni, memang around 1-2 o'clock the what do you call it, the saluran-saluran muda ni dah mula full up lah. Now where I think ada some interesting news sikit maybe is around the rural area lah, or maybe rural to semi-rural, because we got already some information from area Selangor yang rural ni, that the young are coming out to vote. But that's why I think the reading of them is actually a bit more difficult daripada the reading yang dulu-dulu, to make an assumption that the young will go to one party or another. Sebab there is no evidence to say that they have a sentiment bias in one direction or another. I mean, I can give an example. I mean, not campaigning here because it's already over, but we have a very glamorous and very young, glamorous and very popular now in terms of social media and in terms of media, candidate dekat Ampang, Dr. Nura Shikin, now known by much of the country as Dr. Banjir. Okay, even if she doesn't win, we consider it a big win. that she now has a national presence. For a new party to have someone with national presence yang muda, I thought that was already a big win for us. Okay. Now, I consider her performance to be a bellwether. But this is a bellwether not just in terms of some other social media can carry evidence of sentiment, evidence of acceptance of the voter, evidence of also whether or not it can overcome weaknesses, benda-benda macam jentera, which is a traditional important thing that's needed to deliver a win in Malaysia, especially dekat tempat macam Ampang, which is actually urban area, but you know, once you go out sikit here, you see that it's urban but with very much a kampung sort of like a lifestyle or attitude in terms of the neighborhoods kan. So I'll be looking at seats like that to see whether or not there has been a sea change brought about by this young vote. Tapi I agree with James that kalau betul the young vote punya turnout here and in other parts of the country, then it's healthy for our democracy. A definite addition to that information is this: just be mindful what happened in certain areas where voter turnout tinggi among the youth. Macam dekat Johor, UMNO actually got the highest number of votes from the young. The reason why is because they mobilized the jentera and they got what was considered their voters yang putih, children of the UMNO leaders or the UMNO stalwarts. Dia mobilize keluar untuk mengundi. Now dekat Johor, of course, PAS punya presence wasn't very strong, but Perikatan Nasional also had a good outing in terms of the voter turnout among the young. So if you look at the urban areas, of course you will see that young turnout would favor Pakatan Harapan potentially. Tetapi if this was happening in Kedah, Kelantan, Terengganu, I think we have to be very cautious. I dekat Jerai dulu kalah banyak from the youth vote because the youth mobilization capacity of PAS very strong in Kedah dan Terengganu. So youth turnout might be different thing there.
Yeah, I would like you to respond. Tadi bila Prof James sebut kata we're going to malam ini sahaja sudah boleh decide, government boleh decide, prime minister, the probability of that. Kerana saya membayangkan kalau negotiationnya, katakanlah Pakatan Harapan tertinggi pun tidak mendapat simple majority, sebelum ini pun istana akan memanggil satu persatu. Kerana apakah cukup dengan hanya wakil-wakil parti memaklumkan bahawa kami sokong tertentu, sedangkan sebelum ini tuanku akan memanggil satu persatu untuk betul-betul pasti siapa yang benar-benar mendapat majority. What is your response to James punya pandangan?
Again, the sad irony of this is that yang akan menentukan ni mungkin lebih personality daripada just a simple which party has the numbers.
Adakah malam ini Adakah malam ini kita boleh dapat gambaran Perdana Menteri?
I really have my doubts. I really have my doubts. Sebab dia nanti barter trade tu sebab barter trading ni, and you have to include also the decider might end up being GPS. Because itu a solid block tau. That I mean, I'm not the expert on Sabah Sarawak, the Prof is, but I think that is actually the only solid block that knows and have some clear idea what their strength is sebelum dia masuk ke poll. Jadi these guys yang mungkin jadi decider. So kalau nak ingat nak buat shuttle diplomacy dengan dia orang ni, if you remember when the last time GPS was the decider, itu berwal lah. That was masa perubahan antara Taslim Aidin dengan Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri ambil masa tu. Jadi I don't know, I have my doubts it will settle down tonight. Tetapi yang I setuju dengan Dr. James, please ignore apa idea yang kata negara kita akan huru-hara malam ni. Okay. Because we have proven transition of power dekat Malaysia pada 2018 is possible. Not because orang kita tak ada pemimpin-pemimpin yang mungkin gila nak ambil kuasa and all that. No, it is the nature of the people. Orang kita cintakan keamanan, dan mana-mana pemimpin yang gila sangat nak sambar kuasa dengan kekerasan, the people will reject. So I think our leaders are wiser than that also lah.
You guys can hear me because I had to. Yeah, okay. So I want to take this opportunity to ask Prof. James, since he's the expert for Sabah and Sarawak, and taking the cue from Akram, would GPS form a coalition government with PH? Because to me, that is a very tall order. There are a lot of animosity between some of the local personalities against with DAP. Do you see that being a problem to form a coalition government?
So I start off with a classic premise in Malaysian politics and also politics around the world. There are no permanent friends and there are no permanent enemies. Secondly, I think we should not try to second guess because it really depends on the numbers. So for example, the way GPS will negotiate with PH will be different, say, for example, if PH has 105, 95, or 85, or 70. So it will be very different. I do not want to second guess. What I can say is that they've already started conversations with all sides. So they sort of have an understanding of what is the bare minimum and what is the thing that GPS wants. I think for the people in Sabah and Sarawak, the more important thing is not so much what is happening in Peninsular Malaysia, but the last 3 days of the campaign, what is interesting in Sabah is that they blew up the issue of GPS about this Borneo block. So it's interesting that all the different blocks in Sabah claims that they and GPS are the Borneo block, when in fact GPS has not taken any sides in Sabah. So it is quite interesting that rather than talk about the political establishment in Peninsular Malaysia, this has become the talking point. But I think, like I said, I think it's important that in terms of negotiations, the reality is that nobody will know what is actually said and what was promised at the end of the day. What we want to look for, as Akram said, is that we want political stability, we want a stable government. I think a lot of people forget, because you walk around, life is very normal. Malaysia's, especially the economy, was very damaged during the pandemic. So people are looking for normalcy. I give you a very simple example. What is the big difference you saw in front of KLCC, the parking space, before and during the pandemic? Can somebody answer me? It's not a trick question. If you wink, I will buy nasi lemak. Anybody? Nobody? I'll tell you. You notice that when you saw the picture of KLCC, outside KLCC during the pandemic, right? It was full of green motorcycles.
Okay.
Right?
Green motorcycle.
Yes, because people either lost their jobs or they couldn't get jobs, whatever. All of them become members of the gig economy. Whole row of Grab motorcycles.
Okay.
You see what I mean? That's a big difference. So that gives you an idea of how badly the economy was damaged. Another very clear example of how badly the economy was damaged, right? Who would have thought that Suban Jaya, upper middle class area in Kuala Lumpur, during the what do you call it, the campaign to provide food, people put white flags outside their house. Even in Antara Bangsa, high class area, people still do that. So this gives you an idea of how badly the economy was hurt. So people are looking for normalcy. I think it's very important because, you know, we tend to be the chartering class. We sit here, we talk, and then we go to Bangsa. That is not the real Malaysia, unfortunately.
Yeah, Johnson.
Okay, I've got one question, if I may, since we have Prof. James with us. I think Sarawak is a foregone conclusion, GPS will dominate. But Sabah, Warisan and GRS, because Shafi Abdal today has come out to say if they win 15 or more seats, then they will reach out to GPS to talk, presumably a Sabah.
So my reading of Sabah...
James, can I add to that question? Since you mentioned about all the Sabah parties competing to be seen as more Borneo than the other. So up until today, which party do you think? Parti mana yang nampak lebih Sabah daripada parti Sabah yang lain? So soalan sambungan.
So basically, my analysis of Sabah is after a trip to Sabah is that the Sabah group is still split into 3 big blocks. These 3 big blocks will roughly be the numbers between 6 to 8 members each. So this is the Sabah UMNO block, Sabah GRS block, in which Perikatan is a member, and Warisan block. Nobody will dominate. So even the last 24 hours, I keep a very close eye on Sabah, right? Nobody can do a breakthrough. So it will not be a 2-way host, it will be a 3-way host.
Yeah, I tend to agree. In fact, the funny thing about Warisan is that the big gain that they have some potential of gaining is just a foothold in Peninsula.
Okay.
And he's actually been Datuk Seri Syafiee has been quite smart in terms of some of the candidate selections as he's made. Like for instance, candidate for Wan Samaju, former MP, what do you call it? Wee Chu Kiong, and then also in Pandan, former MP, what do you call it? Ong Tik Kiat, who started to give Rafizi a run for the money last time I saw Pandan, but admittedly that was about a week ago. So I think what was he, of course, as a Sabahan, sees his focus to be to return to Warisan, being preeminent over there. And remember, he has also a target of the Sabah state elections, which is coming closer than the others. Other than the other 6 states lah, yang tak ubah lagi. He also I think would dream to actually get 1 or 2 seats in Peninsula as a foothold. If that happens, it would actually be quite nice, because for once we actually have a Sabah party or Borneo party starting to creep into Peninsula.
Okay. If I may gauge to... sila Johnson. Sila.
Oh, okay. No, this is a very, very mosquito party in a way. We seldom talk about it, but they are actually part of PH. Does APCO have a chance of winning any seats in Sabah?
APCO is on track at most 1.
At most.
So they can contribute 1 to PH lah. At most, you are thinking.
I'm just trying to be nice. What I actually meant is 0 and 1.
0 and 1. So you can top half,
But talking about parties which actually face decimation, the other one is actually PBM, Parti Bangsa Malaysia. They started out with how many seats? 6, 7 seats. All of them, of course, coming from other parties. They might just end up with 1. I think Larison has a good chance of defending his seat.
Can I say something about PBM? I think the strategic mistake they made was that they shouldn't have chosen purple. Purple is not a color Malaysians understand. I know it's not a popular thing to say lah. Anyway, they hate me already, so it doesn't matter. But Akram is somebody.
Okay, Malaysia 360.
Agree with me that purple is the wrong color.
Purple. Look, purple may be a royal color in other countries, but purple looks
no, I'm
like...
saying in the Malaysian context is the wrong color.
In the Malaysian context, just like so much sick,
They're confused. Dia tak tahu pergi ke mana. James, earlier on...
Color makes a difference. I think color makes a difference.
Yes, definitely.
Prof. James, you mentioned earlier about independent candidate. Apa yang Prof. James sebut adalah independent candidate, 70% of them akan hilang wang pertaruhan. Itu yang you mention, I still remember. Masa itu Prof. James tak mau menyebut mana-mana. Tapi dalam hal ini, dalam peringkat ini, 30% itu siapa yang mungkin antara independen yang mungkin akan memberi kesan, dan bagaimana mereka ini nanti di dalam parlimen, sikap mereka agaknya ke mana?
So I think among the independents, 99% will lose their hilang deposit.
99%, not 70.
Yes. I think only basically 1%. So in the last 2 weeks, I can only think of one independence ada traction. The rest are other. And the reason is very simple. It's because there are three major coalitions fighting out, and these three major coalitions have what they call it, gorillas in the room. So if you got three big gorillas in the room, right, the smaller one doesn't even get a hearing now. In fact, if you ask me which is the independent candidate that had the most traction on social media, I would actually say it's Cleopatra in Batu. People are going crazy over her. The other one that has quite a bit of social media traction is, of course, Taufik Ismail. He has people, showing his stuff. But other than these two, I think is very difficult. In the Malaysian context, increasingly in urban and semi-urban area, party machinery constitute about 50% of how successful you are. Of course, the other 50% is candidate itself. But in rural area, Sabah, Sarawak, candidate can count up to 80 or 90%. But increasingly in Peninsula Malaysia, without the proper machinery, it's very difficult. And people think putting a machinery is easy. It is not easy. People always think running election is a very easy process. I can tell you it's not easy. It is not easy.
If I may add a bit to that, I have to defend my friend lah. I have a feeling that I agree with Prof that we're going to see a majority wipe out, but I think Tian Chua will win in Batu. The problem with Cleo and Taufik's campaign is true. The social media movement is quite interesting, but there is no jentera on the ground. And in the case of Cleopatra herself in particular, I've been in Batu a couple of times helping out Wan Azliana. I was actually advisor to Majlis Belia Batu and Majlis Belia Wilayah at one time. So when I went down there on the ground, knowing also that Tian basically brought his team from previously from PKR and PH with him when he actually went independent. In a way, that was actually a very bad tactical move by it may even be a bad strategic move, because I think it put the noise out of the joint of a lot of Tian Chua and your friends in PKR and PH when he was excluded as a candidate. And it isn't just that he's excluded from Batu, he's excluded as a candidate. He's still viable in other seats. I mean, he's from Alor Gajah. Why don't you just put him there, you see? So now instead you've got a potential monster, and a monster that can think, by the way. He's been a strategic mind for PKR and PH for many years. And some people have made a point to say that how is it no one has seen any announcement of Anwar Ibrahim kicking Tian Chua out of PKR? I have a feeling that there is some damage control or a crisis management on the part of PKR on that. But we'll see lah. I think it'll all depend on the outcome.
Yeah. So sorry if I didn't clear when I mentioned about sorry if I didn't make myself clear when I talk about Cleopatra and Taufik. I'm just saying that they have a higher social media. I didn't say that they will win. Right? Unfortunately, these two will lose. What I meant was that in terms of the noise generating about independence.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Tian Chua, as mentioned by Akram. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Anwar did say they will sack him. It was Rafizi who will say we will deal with this after the election. But it's very interesting. If I'm not mistaken, you said that Tian Chua would win, but there's another interesting Bebas candidate there as well, Siti Kasim. So there are at least three interesting, Bebas candidates, and both Siti Kasim and Tian Chua happen to be our first guest on this show. Prof. James, what do you think will be the outcome of the Batu elections? That is the parliament with the highest number.
I'm happy to go on record that the PKR candidate will win.
Okay.
You think PKR?
Okay.
All right.
I think actually Tian will win.
Okay.
But that's saying something, because Aziana is a close personal friend. So and I campaign for her. But I think she will probably have a good showing for someone who's a first timer in a place where she's gone in, not cold, but doing well. In fact, in terms of presence, her presence in the area is better than Prabhakaran's.
Okay.
Why Tian? Why do you Akram? Why do you say Tian would win? I'm not campaigning for Tian, but actually a lot of people may not remember this, especially the younger generation. He was one of the sort of instigators of the reformasi movement after Anwar was put into jail by, well, out of sensitivities, I won't mention the name. But why do you say he could win, Akram?
Well, it's because of his time and effort in the area and the machinery in the area. You have to remember that Prabhakaran won the first time on the back of Tian Chua's machinery. And I remember when we were campaigning in Batu before. Remember, I'm also once a leader among the youth in Batu. And where Tian Chua would have been actually shaken would have been if they had a good UMNO candidate coming in. And they had a tough time finding a good UMNO candidate. And then in the end, the horse trading game, they lost out to MIC, to Kohilan. So immediately then the chances of them winning, BN winning at least, evaporated with it. That's what I saw. Evaporation of that opportunity basically then gave opportunity to Tian, as long as there was no strong Malay candidate. I mean, the Malay candidate on past aside has proven before that he cannot win. And Tian Chua, when I was hanging around the area, what I noticed was that his support base wasn't exclusively non-Malay. He was very much also Malay and include Malays from PPR areas. Because as a parliamentarian, remember, in Wilayah, they don't have aduns. So the parliamentarian actually is the end-all and be-all of representation. And he was a good MP. And after Prabhakaran won, he never left the area. And people will actually put up examples of how is it he lost to Prabhakaran and all that. Well, PKR election is one of the easiest to manipulate. Everyone can vote and everyone can become a member at the last minute and still vote. I mean, look, if I became a member of PKR and I became a leader of PKR, I'd say, let's make this party more democratic by revamping the whole thing because it's a mess. So democratically, the most undemocratic party and easiest to manipulate, that's PKR. And I mean, I may be to debate the Rafizi on this even. But as a result of that, that's why hero the reformasi movement, long-time servant of Batu area, could easily be defeated in the PKR elections. So I'm actually very curious to see whether or not Prabhakaran. Well, the change here would be this: would Tian be able to overcome the branding issue? Because he will come for the first time with a brand which no one recognizes. He had enough time to associate himself to a new logo. Otherwise, Prabhakaran will still reap the benefits of the fact that he used to be the one to pick the Harapan flag.
I think Tian made a statement last 2 days, if I'm not mistaken. Dia kata kalau dia menang, dia akan memihak kepada PH. He made that statement. I think I read it on Malaysia Kini lah. So
yeah, I think he was also worried that people will say that he's anti-Anwar. So I think he also signed a statutory declaration that he will support Anwar jadi PM.
Betul. Okay, we have 10 more minutes sebelum tutup pusat pengundian. Sebelum ini ada nama-nama, ada 4 nama calon-calon yang mungkin Perdana Menteri. James kata malam ini kita akan ada Perdana Menteri baru, tapi Akram kata likelihoodnya mungkin tidak, mungkin esok lusa. Tetapi daripada 4 nama tu, dengan realiti sampai ke hari ini, Johnson macam nak mencelah tu. Adakah namanya masih 4 atau sudah tinggal 2 atau 3 atau bertambah lagi ke dengan
5
sudah?
I want to make Akram laugh again and James also, because the other night you interviewed Taufik. Dia cakap apa salahnya Taufik menjadi Perdana Menteri. So what did you
my God.
Terkejut Akram. So
I mean, legally speaking, it is a possibility, right?
Yeah,
but it's really stretching the imagination lah.
Ya, terlalu kemungkinan yang jauh lah. Tetapi adakah nama tu masih kekal 4 itu ataupun sudah tinggal 2, sudah dikurangkan calon-calon PM yang akan berentap mendapatkan sokongan malam ini? Who want to go first? Prof James?
Look, I would suggest that all this is kopitiam talk because everything will be dependent on the final numbers. Not really. Without the final numbers, it's very difficult to discuss.
You share the same thought?
I see Prof punya strategy, so I'm going to follow the same strategy because I also want to be invited again, so we can actually have a better and deeper and more meaningful conversation later.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but what I say is true, right? If
Correct. No,
46,
it's much better when we see the numbers. Then we can have a big debate about who might be the best one. You know, otherwise, you know, we don't know. For all you know, BN gets 30 seats and they're completely eliminated. You know, and then we'll have an interesting toss-up.
You see, our guests and us have a different agenda. They want to appear to be intelligent and accurate, but for us, we want to engage the people at the top.
For them to make mistake, John.
You know who I would advocate. You know who I would advocate to be Prime Minister. This is who I would advocate, and all of you will laugh or just throw up. I would advocate if he wins that everyone should pick Tun Mahathir as Prime Minister, and I tell you why. Because if you pick him, you have a decent chance of being Prime Minister before the next election. Do you get that?
Yeah.
97-year-old suddenly burdened with being Prime Minister again, whilst I do wish that he has a long life, but with added pressure. He may well expire before the term ends. So if you feel that you cannot be Prime Minister now, back Tun Mahathir to be Prime Minister. Because then when the time comes, all you need to do is to work well with the old man, and you might be the best candidate that he puts forward to be his replacement before the next election.
Well, Akram, this has always been your strategy, Akram. This has always been your strategy.
Okay. So before we finish, I just want to ask Akram. Akram, I was going around asking people, where is the party holding the election night watch tonight? Because nobody seems to have that information for GTA.
Sorry?
GTA
You know, right? Every coalition is using a hotel for their election watch. Where is GTA holding their?
We are very sympathetic of the rakyat and actually feel for them. That's why we are just modest. You see, we can't afford a hotel fancy like that. So we'll be staying at our spiritual homes lah. Where we want.
You have only 6 more minutes. Tak boleh campaign pun tak ada orang dah.
No.
They're complicated. I can't say where.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any updates on voter turnout?
Itulah belum. Ini another interesting observation. Up until 2 o'clock kan, hampir setiap jam SPR membuat kenyataan, malah membuat perbandingan. Tiba-tiba pukul 2 everything stops. So saya punya prasangka adalah mungkin ada gag order
5:30
lah. 2 PM.
Update. No. At 5:30 PM, Malaysia Kini updated. As of 3 PM, 65% turnout.
Okay. 5 PM sudah ada.
5
No,
PM
but you have to remember that turnout figure. You have to look at it context. 65% means more than GE14.
Yes.
So you have to look at context. What we want to know is how many of the undi 18 automatic registration come up.
Yeah.
That one is crucial because everybody will look at that numbers to calculate for next
But also James, walaupun number itu besar berbanding dengan PRU14, you have to remember we have 5 million more voters. So mungkin
the distribution is going to be also very key. Otherwise, it will be like a situation like Trump lah. The highest voter turnout number of voters ever voted for a person who lost the presidency, right? Okay. So we have to look at all the distribution and how that translates to the seats.
Okay.
I think if there's one thing I like to see out of this election, this is my suggestion. If there's one thing I like to see out of this election is that the election commission must really do something about making it easier for overseas Malaysians to vote. The current system is just not working. I mean, the most simplest solution, which they can do if they want to, is to open up Malaysian embassies abroad. People coming with their passport, if they're on the road, they can vote. That would be the easiest solution. I mean, there are other technical solutions, but people in Malaysia don't trust the technical thing. But I thought the easiest one is actually opening up high commissions and embassy in cities where there's a large Malaysian population. I just don't know why we want to deny our fellow citizens the right to vote. All these things about all this organization, organizing, collecting ballots, have to fly people back. I mean, this is really, to me, people celebrate this thing, but for me, it's actually not a good thing. It shows the failure of our system.
Yeah.
No, I tend to agree because the thing is with these guys who are voting from overseas, a lot of them, especially with now less and less Malaysian actually working, studying overseas, they comprise of either those coming from well-to-do families, or they come from those who actually achieve scholarships, which means that they are even more cream of the cream as opposed to the past, because there's so few of those scholarships now also compared to the past. So these are people who actually we need to teach and enfranchise in democracy. They need to participate as early as possible so that they can get the feel as to what it means, because these are the guys who will most likely become leaders in the future, either in social, economics, opinion leaders, even if they don't become politicians. So enfranchising them early and getting them to understand and participate is going to be quite important. I mean, it might seem like a small thing. I actually got very annoyed with the movie that they showed, how they got all these people flying back in 2018 and making a hoo-ha about how that made a difference in terms of winning or losing. Get real, guys. It made some difference maybe, but it didn't make any particular party dominate, right? So, but it is symbolically, it is extremely powerful. And if you remember who they are, who are actually those who are voting from overseas and who they will be, I think we need to enfranchise them early.
Okay.
James alluded to something that I wanted to pick up actually. That we don't trust in technology, not because technology itself, but the people who use that technology, or we are hoping that they will use it for our electoral purposes. And I'm talking about blockchain technology. Actually, it is a very powerful and very apt technology to use. Once we have our own identity on our own devices, we can actually use that. And in fact, I believe it is so safe that they cannot even manipulate the votes. But do you see that happening for GE16, or do we have to wait another 10 years before that happens?
No, I think the very nature of Malaysian political culture is that we don't trust anything that we can't see or touch in front of us. Because I can tell you, the first thing that the political parties will say was that how do you audit the thing? Because right now they have pacha people on the ground to look at the individual ballots. So unfortunately, our Malaysian political culture, when it comes to election, is still a low trust political culture. So I don't see it happening in the next few years. But the point I was trying to make is that this is really important because if you want people to believe in your political system, to have a stake in your political system, you must make it easy for them to take part to vote once every 5 years. Because in the Malaysian system, right, this is the only chance they have to, for lack of a better word, to make the leaders accountable. Because otherwise, I think it's not a good thing. It's just not a good thing. We want to project ourselves as quite a developed country, and that we always feel that the government that's selected is legitimate. If you want this to carry on, you must give every segment of the population the right to vote. So that's the reason why a few years ago there was a very big story about one particular longhouse in Sarawak where there was only 2 voters, but they're sending in the helicopters to allow these 2 voters to vote. So I think it's important. Like I said, the EC can do it if they want to do it. It's a question of political will on the government to vote the EC. So I sincerely hope whoever becomes the government tonight will take this up as a priority. And if they need somebody to write a working paper to support, I volunteer.
It's already 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock already. So
wow.
sudah ada
It's
keperluan.
over.
If you're running this on blockchain, Johnson, by 6:30 there'll be official announcement of who's leading and who's the prime minister.
Yeah, maybe not even 6:30. By 6:15, the results are out. But
probably.
Anyway,
but mind you, there's a country that's actually done it. Estonia has actually successfully rolled this out. But unfortunately, Estonia is an exception to the rule. What was pointed out by James isn't just a Malaysian political culture. The issue of trust in introducing new methods of voting is an issue that actually has heightened further during the period of the MCO, the period of COVID and all this. This trust of government and establishment has actually reached its peak relative to many years over the MCO period of the many countries. So it will be some time yet. But if we want to do it, Malaysia is one of those places where it's best to test the system worldwide. Because I remember when I was working for this massive oil and gas company, whenever we had a new electronic system, we'll test it in Malaysia because we have some of the best hackers especially when it comes to smart cards. You know, we have some of the best hackers in the world. Hackers, scammers, they come here and actually test all the technology all the time. So it just it's a bold maybe even a state like Selangor, you know, where the electorate may be a bit more mature or privileged. You know?
I thought you were going to say because we have the best guinea pigs in Malaysia. Okay, on a more serious note, to relate it back to yesterday, both of you mentioned culture. Yesterday we talked about culture when we talked about leadership and all that with Ocean Tiran as well as Ambiga. And very interestingly, he said culture is, a lot of it is based on what we believe and the rituals that we have that reinforces that belief, and then we have, you know, this whole culture. What do you think what outcome could we hope for in GE15 that will start to change people's beliefs about Malaysian politics? James.
Sorry, I somebody's at the door now. I have to go, but thank you very much. We're on the run. Tonight, my life is upside down every 5 years, so
now is the time for you to switch off, yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming. Is Akhram still with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no escaping this question then.
Would you
well,
like
what do you mean? I mean to say that the things I would like to take away from this election that I would like to bring forward. Is that really the heart of your question?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I get the sense that people don't really care that much about democracy, generally speaking. It's not that they don't care, but there are other things that are more pressing to them. But what I would really love to see is that people are more proactive when it comes to democracy and voting. But obviously they are excited about voting, but what kind of things could happen out of this GE that hopefully will start changing the way we think or the mindset of Malaysians so that they take a more proactive role in politics?
Okay, what you stated actually was best articulated to me many years ago by Paul Krugman, when he says that it's to do with relative benefit to action. For you to actually make an informed choice of the right candidate for you to vote, you need to actually spend time. If not, and it cannot be minutes, it has to be at least hours. And usually the hours are not enough. You actually have to spend days after deliberating, then come to a concise and clear decision. But in the end, when you've done all that, then you realize you only have one vote. And that one vote goes to one candidate. And then that one candidate gets one seat on deciding who's prime minister. Well, once it hits that one seat and you get the person that's voting, you then realize once you've chosen that one guy, you can't decide how that guy acts anymore. You see, so the risk benefit is a problem, because the same amount of time you can spend, you can probably pick the right stock and put money on that and make more money for you than this guy can potentially deliver for you for sure. You see, so this is how Krugman articulated it. But I think the reason why people are disenfranchised in particular is because they don't know what's at stake for them. They don't believe what the politicians are saying is at stake for them, and the distance is actually further today than before. Everyone is telling the politicians that the issues of today is cost of living, inflation, concerns over the structural system of the country like health, education, etc. But the media bombards us and dominates everything with political speak. There has not been a real concise and clear debate around the policies of every party. I mean, we tried to bring out our message. And the success we've had is in creating a Dr. Banjir, right? Which is a very localized solution, some people may see, but if projected the right way, would enfranchise people to choosing her party potentially in the whole nation. But it captures people with their imagination more as an iconic glamour character, not really as someone that can bring about personal choice. You're not going to be able to choose Dr. Banjir if you're sitting in Kubang Krian. Padahal you Banjir every year. So You don't think about her beyond just saying, oh, she looks like a nice lady, looks like very credible. I wish she was my candidate, but she's not. And even if she comes to the point where you say, I wish she was a candidate, and then she'll say, oh, but she comes from Parti Pejuang. Doesn't seem like they're going to have a good chance of winning, is it? So I think we need to get media in particular to behave better in Malaysia and to actually start focusing on the issues. Now, I thought that the US was bad. I thought the US was bad because, you know, there was also a preponderance of media going down the route of character and character assassination. But the recent midterm elections actually gives us a nice ray of hope, because in the recent US midterm elections, analysis is showing that the reason why the Democrats fared better than people expected is because they managed to focus on issues that people cared about. Just in terms of issue count, the Democrats basically tackled 7 issues versus the 2 issues which people didn't care that was actually being talked about by the Republicans.
Okay.
Now, if we can actually get our electorate to be re-engaged as to what we can bring, I think that's better. And I think the political parties were very misbehaved, assisting the media in this year. Look at the PH campaign. We are going to win. We got 80%, 80 seats. We got 90 seats. Choose us because we're going to win. They are all corrupt. You know, this is very different from the PH campaign in 2018. The PH campaign in 2018 is what? We will repeal the GST. People cared about the GST. I mean, PH then became proud. We beat them because of the message that Najib Penyamun. But the Najib Penyamun message wouldn't have struck home if the economy was fine. Wouldn't have struck home if the GST wasn't a pain. The point about Najib Penyamun is that he took money, and he took money from us. And then he penalized us with GST. And then so this is the way the debate has to change. It has to go back to a reason why you should vote. And if there's anything that I wanted to say in terms of my disappointment, my sheer disappointment of this election, is that we've gone backwards. No political party has successfully told the people why they should be chosen on the basis of what the parties can really bring for the people.
For the media to change, we will need strong political will, and that's still a big question mark.
I
Johnson,
disagree with that.
I will have to leave now, so I'll leave the session with Johnson.
Okay.
I need to make my move because I need to.
No. I think that we should all just close up shop and go.
Okay.
This may be our final transmission for a while, if I'm not mistaken, right, Syed?
Are we not going to review the result tomorrow or the day after that?
We could. Let's talk again tomorrow morning and regroup.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
I'm ready and willing. Work starts again on Monday, so as long as the time is right.
Akhram, I just wanted to say, actually, it's not only Dr. Banjir. Even Dr. M made a splash on social media by joget. Isn't it?
I was a bit disturbed by that, but he's still my leader.
Kita ucap terima kasih pada Akram. Johnson pun dah sangkut. Okey, jadi terima kasih pada Akram. Mungkin kita akan mengulas nanti keputusan. Tentu juga mungkin Johnson kita perlu mengulas kabinet. Ya, siapa yang menteri keuangan itu semua akan menarik untuk kita berikan suluhan. Dan sekarang sudah pun pukul 6.10, semua pusat mengundi sudah ditutup, menjelang 7.30, 8.30 mungkin sudah ada pun beberapa DUN khususnya sudah mula dimengundi. Tapi kita pasukan My Undi Johnson ada menyediakan sedikit bahan human interest, dan bahan itu sudah tidak lagi akan mempengaruhi keputusan pengundian. Jadi kita ingin kongsikan, kita akan tutup rancangan kita ini dengan perkongsian itu tentang Alvin yang mengambil inisiatif menggunakan bahan-bahan daripada kempen. Sebab ini masanya menjelang hari ini, esok lusa, semua parti perlu mengumpulkan balik bendera dan juga apa semua ni, proses pembersihan. Apa jadi kepada bahan ini? Jadi kita ada contoh Nick daripada pasukan My Undi sudah menemu bual Alvin pernah di feature di dalam akhbar tentang inisiatifnya mengumpul dan menggunakan bendera semua ni untuk jadi bahan yang bermakna. Jadi kita ingin tutup episod ini dengan video itu. Anything Johnson from your side?
No. Hopefully we'll see the viewers again tomorrow, right? But for now, I think that's a good message. Let's upcycle all this election materials for good.
Ya, jadi kita jumpa lagi insyaAllah dalam kesempatan akan datang. Assalamualaikum, jumpa lagi dan ikuti video bingkisan ini.
My name is Alvin Teo, and I'm the Chief Creative Officer of an ad agency called Naga DDB Tribal. So I've been told to explain the project that I did with the political party flags kan. So bila aku start project ni is last election lah. And like all elections kan, you listen to all the politicians talk, you listen to conversations online, banyak orang gaduh kan. And you know, in the history of Malaysia, bila pasal politik, banyak orang tak ada agreement, banyak orang only have their own agenda kan, banyak orang gaduh. So kita rakyat Malaysia pun bosan lah dengar pergaduhan ni. Sebab pergaduhan ni semua kan nothing to do with rakyat. Everything is to do with the survival of the political party, right? And I think sesiapa yang boleh fikir kan, we also know that all the politicians, kebanyakan lah, bukan semua kan, ada yang baik, ada yang buruk. Kebanyakannya when they are giving all these speeches is very shallow. It's all about their own survival. It's not about issue economy or issue pendidikan or all those things. So sebagai rakyat Malaysia, kita pun sudah fed up kan. So in the last election, there was so much of fighting. I was thinking, right, if only all the political parties, I don't want to take sides, if only all the political parties can come together for one purpose lah, is to serve the rakyat. Because if the title minister kan, if you look in the dictionary, minister means servant tau. You're a servant of the people. Bukan people serve you, you are a servant. But they're not doing that. It's all talking lies and nonsense and all this infighting and isu perkauman, all this distraction. I was thinking like, if only I could show a message that if the parties come together for the rakyat, how nice it would be. So what I did is I collected all the political party flags after the election. You know, they were left all over the place. I think only Pakatan people clean up, but the other party flags everywhere, they didn't clean up. It was like rubbish. So I went around my neighborhood, I collect all these flags, and I went to see my friend Ching, who's an amazing tailor designer, you know, and I asked her, can you make clothes out of these things? And so what she did is quite nice. I have some samples here. Like this one is a bomber jacket, so I wear it lah, just for fun lah. I wear it. So this is a bomber jacket, and then she made kebayas, she made shirts, she made like skirts and all kinds of things kan. So but I think the message here, right, but I think the message that I was trying to convey to people, right, is that if this one symbolizes all the parties coming together to clothe the rakyat, to embrace the rakyat, to serve the rakyat, to make the rakyat beautiful. The rakyat is king, you know, not the political parties. And that's the meaning of all these things. So this is like Barisan National Flag, this is like you know, Pakatan Harapan lah, and PAS lah, and everything combined lah, you know. And the name of the brand is I read to you. Okay, I am like cannot read without my glasses because I'm like half blind. So if you can see here, there's a label. There's a label, and I'll read the label to you. The label says Fabric of Society by Karat. Karat is the brand. Fabric Society is the name of this project. Fits people of all creeds, color and language. And then we had some fun, you know. So we have like, you know, all the baju kan. You have the how to care for the baju, like washing instructions, right? But this is about the fabric of society. This is about the rakyat of Malaysia, right? All the religions, all the ethnicity and races, right? So I'm going to read to you the label, if you can see. So the label says, how to care for the fabric of society. The fabric of society is not this fabric. The fabric is society, is all of us. So how to care for the fabric of society? Avoid racism, corruption, injustice, hate, narrow-mindedness, bigotry, nepotism, extremism, greed, and lying. If any of the above is detected, hang them out to dry. So there's like double meaning kan. Then practice, but take there, practice equality, meritocracy, charity, wisdom, mindfulness, fair play, dialogue, kindness, temperance, and mutual respect. Get these out of the closet and put it on with pride. So, you know, there's bomber jackets, there's like, you know, this is a kebaya top, right? And, you know, there's like a shirt here, right? Actually, this shirt looks like Ismail Sabri's baju, the one that cost $4,000. And also this is like another overall, and we made skirts and also. Anyway, I won't talk too long about it because I think it's a very simple explanation. I think what I was trying to achieve is just to symbolize the desires of the rakyat. Kita tak mau politician yang ada agenda dia sendiri, is to serve themselves. I don't think this is right for our government, for the leaders that we put up there, that we vote. It's not about you, it's not about your party, it's about the rakyat. And when we talk about rakyat, bukan one part of the rakyat. No, the rakyat is everybody. If the politicians come together like baju kan, to come together and unite to serve the rakyat, right, we will support them, we will vote for them, and everybody will be okay. Because this country is, memang Malaysia is the best country in the world. It's just that our leaders are not the best. I don't know what they're doing, and I hope that there's a brighter future for all of us lah. We, the fabric of society, the fabric of Malaysia. Yes, so that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully the future I can do more projects like this and make it bigger through collaboration with people and photographers and designers and all kinds of things lah. Yeah, maybe I can get all the politicians to wear it also and swear and sumpah that they will serve the rakyat, like truthfully, honestly, with all their heart, their mind and soul, and do it properly. Don't do all these half-baked jobs and all these tipu-tipu things or tak best lah. Okay man, thank you very much. I hope I didn't say anything wrong. Have a good weekend. Bye.